One missile illuminates the darkness. Sirens pierce the air. Beyond, a city sleeps, oblivious to the tempest building beneath a veneer of diplomatic smiles. This is not merely war. This is a tale decades in the making of power, religion, revenge, and international manipulation. What you are about to see is not just a political struggle. It is a rich historical enigma that extends deep into the core of the Middle East and into the minds of those who dominate its destiny. Welcome to the untold story of the Israel-Iran struggle. Before we untangle this knotted past, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and enable notifications so you never miss a secret truth about the past. Let's trace it back to its beginnings, when Israel and Iran were allies. Israel and Iran were once allies. Prior to 1979, during Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi's rule, Iran and Israel had profound diplomatic, economic, and military connections. The Shah viewed Israel as a buffer against Soviet expansion and Arab nationalism. Mossad and Savak, Iran's national intelligence agency, even cooperated on counterinsurgency operations. Oil pumped from Iran to Israel, and Israeli technology aided Iranian security. A subtle cooperation behind the veil of the Arab world, but cooperation that stabilized a very unstable region. And then came 1979, the revolution that turned everything upside down. It all changed in 1979. The Shah was deposed. Ayatollah Khomeini came to power, denouncing Israel as an illegitimate Zionist entity and the US as the Great Satan. Iran's new government redirected its entire foreign policy on Islamic revolutionary ideals. In a single night, Israel became its arch-nemesis. Embassies were closed, relations were severed, and the ground was set for a decades-long hatred. But Iran did not wage war openly. It turned to the shadows after the revolution. Iran never fought Israel outright, but it fought a proxy war. Iran supported, trained, and equipped Hezbollah in Lebanon. Through Hezbollah, Iran attacked Israel in the 2006 Lebanon War and other skirmishes. Iranian-backed Palestinian Islamic Jihad and Hamas initiated escalations in Gaza. Iran's playbook bleed Israel indirectly while publicly claiming not to be directly involved. Then came the rumors of nuclear threat. Early in the 2000s, intelligence came to light. Iran was enriching uranium. Officially, it was for energy purposes. Unofficially, the world was concerned about a bomb. Israel was the first to raise an alarm. The notorious Natanz and Fordo nuclear facilities were terms that were buzzing in every intelligence community. Iran lied through its teeth. But satellite photos and defectors painted a different picture. Israel responded with the F-35I stealth jets and Dolphin-class submarines that could strike Iranian establishments. The war came online into the dark corners of cyberspace. In 2010, an unknown cyber weapon named Stuxnet brought down Iran's. It was the first certified cyber attack to inflict real-world physical destruction. Although never openly claimed, it was attributed to Israel and the US by Meanwhile, Iranian nuclear experts started dying in car bombings and magnetic mine blasts. Israel's Mossad was held responsible. Iran struck back with cyber attacks on Israeli water plants and financial institutions. The battlefield had shifted to cyberspace. End to Trump and Netanyahu in the era of maximum pressure. In 2018, President Donald Trump withdrew the US from the Iran nuclear deal. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised the decision. Trump unleashed a wave of sanctions, devastating Iran's economy. Netanyahu even revealed the clandestine nuclear archive smuggled out of Tehran. The world watched as tensions ratcheted up. Iran retaliated with a surge in uranium enrichment. The showdown was on the brink of a breaking point. Then came the assassinations, and the world held its breath. 2020, Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, the mastermind of most of Iran's regional campaigns, was assassinated in a US drone attack. Iran threatened retaliation. The Middle East waited with bated breath. Then the assassination of Iran's leading nuclear scientist Mossad. Although Israel did not openly claim responsibility, its fingerprints were all over the operation. Each killing drove the nations further apart, and the world closer to war. The world watched as both sides readied their arsenals. Iran spent a lot on missile technology, from Fatah hypersonic missiles to the Bavar 373 defense system. It tested medium-range ballistic missiles that could reach Tel Aviv. Israel's Iron Dome, Arrow 3 and David Sling systems were meanwhile upgraded. Both countries set themselves up for a war that neither of them confessed to wanting, yet both seemed prepared for. Now, today, the fight is waged in deadly new forms. In Syria, Iranian IRGC troops fought indirectly against Israeli airstrikes. In Iraq, Iran-backed militias attacked US and Israeli-affiliated facilities. Hezbollah's drone reconnaissance flights over northern Israel increased. And in cyberspace, Iran and Israel engaged in reciprocal cyber warfare, hitting infrastructure, media outlets, and political campaigns. At its root is a greater fight, one of religion, identity, and influence. At its core, the Iran-Israel dispute is also ideological. Iran portrays itself as a savior of the oppressed, defender of the Muslims, and resistor to Western dominance. Israel, meanwhile, is a democracy in the middle of hostile powers. Iran's religious establishment frequently mentions Jerusalem's liberation in speeches, aligning itself with the Palestinian struggle. And while Israel is a secular nation, its religious and historical connection to the land cannot be denied. The religious tension piles fuel on an already fire-branded smolder. In the meantime, a silent war rages on between the world's most lethal spy networks. Outside the battlefield, a war in the shadows continues. Israel's Mossad and Iran's IRGC Quds Force are fighting one of the most heated covert battles in history. From foreign country assassinations to covert sabotage operations, both continue in secrecy and peril. Mossad's removal of nuclear documents from Tehran in 2018 shocked the world. IRGC agents have been implicated in Latin American, African, and Asian plots. Repeatedly foiled but always terrifying. This is a war of the silent kind, the most perilous perhaps because there are no rules stepping back. The entire world is playing this risky game. This conflict is not Israel against Iran alone, but involves America, Russia, and China as well. The US has been Israel's strategic partner since long ago, with military assistance, intelligence, political support. Russia, allied with Iran and Syria, treads a fine line, selling arms but also negotiating peace. China, always an opportunist, comes in for economic transactions with Iran, particularly oil, without taking on political baggage. This international entanglement makes every escalation into a global crisis. Not all Iranians support the path their leaders take. Not all Iranians are for war. Within Iran, most of the people, particularly the young, are against fighting with Israel. Economic deprivation, repression, and isolation have exhausted people. There is increasing anger against clerical domination. Protest movements such as Women, Life, Freedom reveal the internal cracks. Whereas hardliners drive aggression, reformists quietly make the case for diplomacy. The divide is genuine, increasing, even in Israel. Not everyone is as uniform as it appears. Political unrest, widespread protests over judicial reforms, and increasing polarization tests internal cohesion. There are Israelis who worry an extended war with Iran could become a war of generations. The Israeli public, united in opposing outside threats, argues about how far is too far. And now, the question on everyone's mind. What happens next? As of 2025, it is not a question of if, but of when. Israel keeps watching. Iran keeps enriching. Whispers of an Israeli second strike plan, Operation Lightning Edge, make the rounds in the intelligence community. Buck-channel negotiations sputter in Switzerland and Oman, but on the ground, planes take to the skies, missiles shift, and red lines get fuzzy. Will the world see a full-scale Israeli war, or will diplomacy save the region from the abyss? This was never all about land, nukes, or religion. This is a survival game, one played in silence, secrets, and shadows. The Israel-Iran feud is more than politics. It is a war of ideologies, influence, and fear of annihilation. And until the final red button is shrouded, the mystery, the tension, and the peril will persist. Subscribe for more secret truths from history's darkest corners, only on Mysteries of the Past.